Tell me if you can see my screen.
Give me 1 second. It's loading. Okay, I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay. Now you said on Metafire you're currently Gold 2. You've played League for over a year. You peaked Plat 3 as a jungle main. You recently started playing mid, specifically Swain. First session would be helpful. Someone with more knowledge could try to identify bigger consistent mistakes, lane, macro, whatever. General help, laning phase is biggest problems where you struggle. Two goals are someday hit diamond and become more aware of the game and how you should be playing it. Okay. Um, all right, so I guess like yeah, you feel as well like the laning phase you sort of struggle with. Now, admittedly, Swain is like not the strongest laner, so you're always gonna struggle
Right.
at least a little bit. But yeah, there's like probably stuff you can do to mitigate, I guess, like your bad lane. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. So I think your setup versus Syndra here is pretty damn greedy, honestly. So Syndra is, well, when you verse any kind of like poke champion, so let's just do a little like rune slash itemization thing.
Right.
When you verse poke, e.g. like Syndra, Azir, Victor, Ori, like all these champs are really good into Swain because they just like poke you
Mhm.
non-stop. You basically have to try get some sustain from somewhere. And so like your options are you can go like second wind in your runes. You could start like corrupting potion slash Doran shield. You could even take
Right.
TP instead of ghost. Like you could do any of these things. I probably wouldn't do all of them because I think you don't need all of them. But I
Right.
would
Yeah.
probably
Too
do one
much.
of them. So for me, I would probably take second wind because I feel like, conditioning it's good, but if second wind allows you to get through this lane, I think that'd be good. Or if you really want the conditioning, maybe swap Doran's ring to corrupting potion. Um, yeah, I'd probably say so. Like versus Syndra, I'd say yeah, second wind or corrupting potion. Corrupting potion should help a lot because you really need some sustain. If you're because what you've got here is like you've got a super greedy page with like Conqueror, full scaling runes, and you've got like the scaling summoner, and you've got like a greedy start. So it's just yeah, it's like too much
Too
greed. I
much.
would just take probably just second wind and then
Yeah. I didn't know like what to take. Like, because I'm new to Swain, I kind of just use the same runes and build the
yeah.
same thing every time, which isn't like ideal, but
Yeah, well,
yeah.
honestly, like you don't need to swap around your runes and stuff on Swain that much. I just think the one you can consider is like starting item. So corrupting potion's
Hmm.
really good versus poking champs. And second win or sorry, Doran's if it's like really, really bad. I don't think I'd actually
Right.
ever start this on Swain, but if you felt like the matchup was just unplayable, Doran Shield would
Hmm.
probably make it playable. But yeah, I don't think I would ever do it. And then yeah, you can like so verse like all in champ. So if you verse say like a Fizz or Zed or
Yeah.
Kiana, then you definitely like take bone plating instead of like second wind or conditioning because it's really hard for those champs to ever fight you if you have bone plating up.
Yeah. I'm like terrible against them, so that definitely makes
Okay,
sense.
yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense then. I also think that okay, I guess I should actually open your OPTG because if you're versus an all-in champion, you probably do need to build a different item. Let's see, it's Supreme Bread. Let me open this up. Just have a look through here. Filter by Swain. You can still see this, right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So, like, yeah, actually, just like looking through the match history, so like Lux is another champion that is like heavy on poke. This is definitely like a second win. Okay, you got a second win. So yeah, okay.
I think
You
that one I did, right?
solved
Yeah.
it. Where's an all-in champion? Maybe. Well, here's another. Did you take second win versus Victor?
Definitely not.
Okay, yeah, that would be like another one. And this is verse Echo mid. Okay, yeah, so when you're verse like Echo, I don't think Echo is too bad an assassin, but I think that let's see, what did you build? You probably build oh you rush Leandries, I guess. Because like what a lot of Swains will do is when they're verse like champs that need to all in, they will either build Rylai's before Leandries because it gives them a lot of HP, or they'll just go Rod of Ages instead because like so like verse like all in champs like HP is very valuable. So the ways you can get that is like you can go Roa and then Rylai, or you can go like Rylai then Leandry. Basically, you just want some way to get a bit of like tanking this early game
You're
because
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't, it's like you know, you're kind of giving them what they want. They have to snowball, and you're like giving them the opportunity to basically. But
So
yeah,
against like poke, would you still build like Leandries, but
yeah, I
then
think
change the
so.
starter item?
Yeah, I think like you can kind of figure out for yourself how much you feel like you need. Like, okay, let's say
Right.
you verse Syndra and you find Syndra just too hard. Maybe then we go
Hmm.
second wind and corrupting potion or something, you know,
Right.
like you can kind of experiment because especially like a champ like Syndra, really it comes down to like how well you can dodge your abilities. So if you're like
Hmm.
really good at dodging, you can probably get away with maybe nothing, to be honest. If you're just like average, maybe you just like take second wind. If you're really bad at it, you could take both. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be me. Pretty bad
okay. I
at
mean, we'll
dodging.
see, we'll see. But the good news is like this stuff, it's like really easy to fix, you know? Like all you have to do is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
change it
that's
around and kind of call it a day, so
it
it's good.
helps, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So see, doing a little invade.
Literally nothing. I don't know what that
It's
was, but
fine, it's fine. Okay, another thing you'll sometimes see is if you are in a matchup that's very difficult, a lot of the time people will start Q because it allows
you
them to farm a bit easier. Because like E is like the greedy option, right? It's like you want to kind of
right,
poke your opponent and start stacking, but if your goal is just to avoid taking damage, then you can just use Q to kind of allow you to not walk up. You know, like you can be autoing like normal, and then you can Q this creep rather than autoing it. Because you know, whenever you auto, that's like they're gonna Q you for it basically every time. So
right.
yeah, that's like another thing you can experiment with. Like a lot of the time E start will be fine, but yeah, again, it's just like finding ways to take less damage. Because the thing with Swain is if you get through lane on Swain and you're
You're good.
yeah, like that's the hard part, right? And also
That's what I noticed. Yeah.
if you're going to use your E like this just to farm, then you might as well start Q anyway, you know, because like this is just
Yeah.
longer cooldown, more mana. So yeah, this doesn't really make like that much sense.
Right, okay. So like in the matchups you don't want to be close to them or you don't want to walk in a poke range, you
Yeah,
just kind of start Q.
yeah, and also like Swain's star Q a lot versus melee anyway, because like you can poke with it more. So I guess it's
Yeah.
like you probably start you probably just like start Q in melee matchups or really hard matchups, and then you start E in like all the kind of even matchups.
Hmm. Yeah, like one thing I definitely notice is I'm terrible at playing from behind, but if I
Hmm.
make it through laning phase, I usually can like, get into team fights and start snowballing.
Yeah. Okay, so stuff like this, like you kind of you know you're gonna take damage when you're doing this because that's just like the nature of being a short range champion, and that's kind of why you have to have some health to trade for it, like either corrupting pot sustain or second wind regen or something. Because if you take all this scaling, but because of it you can't CS, then it kind of defeats the point of having your scaling, you know, because you just
Mhm.
never get gold anyway. Like I think here you're kind of expecting to take some damage, but if you can at least regen it and get those creeps, then it's probably fine. Also, I'd say just like in general, don't be afraid to just CS with Q on Swain. Like obviously it's better if you can just CS with autos, but like it's very cheap and it's a reasonably short cooldown. So like if you feel like you're gonna miss some, you might as well just Q it. And actually, it is better if you can auto creeps and Q to last hit rather than Q creeps and auto to last hit. So like here, for example, like you use Q on this wave, but it's probably better to order them and then use Q to last hit them all, you know, because that means that you don't have to kind of, well, you don't even have to last hit. You can just
It's
like
much
literally use
easier.
Q. Yeah.
Yeah, I always do Q in auto, so that's probably a better idea, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. This is another thing. So again, a lot of Swains will do 2 points in Q before they put a point in W because W is not that useful early. Like W, it's obviously good if you can hit an E, but if we're not playing for that, Q just gives us more poke and more CS. So like this, where your Q doesn't CS either of these creeps, it's because you've only got 1 point on it. So yeah, this is let's talk about the early game. So first go normally with skill order, just go like you can either go QE, QW or EQ, QW. You can do either of those that way, because yeah, you just don't really need W that early. Um, and then yeah, so try setup. creeps, like with autos, and then last hit with Q. Obviously, again, you can't do it on every creep, right? But if you're gonna CS, say 3 creeps, it's much better to order them first and then last hit with Q rather than, you know, Q and then try and order them all. And then also, like, be willing to trade HP for CS. Like, that's just the nature of Swain, and that's like why you need some sustain, right? Because yeah, like you want to be able to trade like just a little bit. Yeah, like see
So
how
you'd
useless
say,
W is.
yeah, that was useless there. You'd say the first skill order for harder stuff again,
Let's see. So what I got here is
like
like,
harder matchups.
yeah, if you're in, so this would be like, this would be for a hard matchup, just like QEQ.
Yep.
I'll put this like hard matchups, and then this for like easy or just like even slash easy
Even,
matchups.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think you'll
that's
find
good.
it a lot easier, especially
Probably,
with like
honestly.
2 points Q.
Yeah, I need like I have to work on my farming, so that'll definitely help.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Yeah, good trade. Okay, it probably isn't worth using both E and Q for farming those. So obviously, like if you use too much, it's just gonna cost too much mana. So like, I think if you can set these up to where you can Q both of them, that's probably fine. But if you think about this, like if you use both, you're investing like 100 mana for 40 gold, which is not particularly efficient. So
Yeah.
yeah, try not to use E too much for CS. And also, a lot of the time, people will be very aggressive into you when your E is on cooldown because that's kind of like your threatening ability. So a lot of the time, just by holding E, it'll like create more like pressure for you, and they'll feel a bit more scared to harass you. But if you just use E to farm, then it's like okay, now they have 10 seconds where you just like can't really do anything about it.
Right. Yeah. I'm not like experienced with Syndra either, which makes this one harder.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay, I mean, honestly, like considering how greedy your page has been, like you're not that far behind. Like obviously you are behind, but you gotta remember like okay, if we just like look at everything, like Conqueror is greedier than something like Spellbook or Phase Rush, right? And then like these two scaling resolves are way greedier than like Second Wind or something, and Doran's Ring is greedier than um like Corrupting Pot or something. So you have the greediest page possible here, and obviously like you're paying for it, but you're not horribly behind.
Will be. No, just
Okay,
wait.
okay, we'll see.
It gets mad.
Nice dodge. Okay, so she's probably gonna base soon. She's pretty out of mana, but until then, you can kind of just keep chilling. Push. Okay, so this is yeah, okay, I'd say this is a pretty big mistake. So this is something that you kind of just like have to know. When you're versus someone that has TP, normally you need to base at the same time as them. And the reason for that is like so the problem is if you try and push this wave, she can TP back and now she's like full HP, full mana, and a bunch of items. So it's like really tough for you to crash this because like if you do and she freezes, like you're just fucked. Like let's see if she actually does it. Yeah, so like
He does,
exactly what
yeah.
happens here. So when you're yeah, if you're playing like Ghost versus TP or just like anything and you don't have TP, what you have to do is like clear this wave as quick as you can. Ideally before this wave goes like this, because now it's like still gonna slightly push it to her. Like actually what you should probably do here is just like yeah, WE this wave, just like get rid of this as soon as possible and then just match the base. So this is also like quite easy to fix, and it's just something you kind of have to know. But versus like TP users, you must like base before them or at the same time as them, because
So
there you go.
do you kind of just like say screw the wave, like wherever it is, you just kind of have to say screw it and go.
Yeah, because you're just gonna like lose. more. Like, I mean, you have time to clear this wave, right? Because like she's
Right, that
still
little
basing.
part.
You can clear this little one, but yeah, like right here, it would be better if you could push it for sure, but
Right.
you just can't. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
you
you
don't.
see
You
what
can't.
happens, right? Because okay, if you like base right now, let's say you clear this wave and base, you probably miss. I'd say like 3 creeps of this wave by the time you like base and get back here, maybe 4. But the problem is like if it ends up frozen, like how many creeps do you miss instead? It's like you miss so you miss
One more.
these 3, and then you miss another 6. And she can hold it more. Yeah, okay, so this is like... Yeah, so I'd say you miss, what, like 9 creeps, and the wave is like still not in the best spot, and you lose a lot of XP too, so... I'd say that's like pretty much all just a product of like, yeah, being too greedy with the itemization, and then the base timer, so... But also, I think the base thing is really easy to fix. It's just like, you really got to be
Yeah.
aware of that versus TP users. That's why TP is like so broken for laning phase.
I never knew what to like do with TP users, especially in mid lane. So I was like, ugh.
Yeah. That's like the main reason. It just like gives you a great first base, and then you can like freeze with it. It wouldn't be that amazing for that purpose on Swain, because Swain's just not that great a lane bully, but on Swain, if you're gonna take TP, you'd literally just be using it to like get back to lane and fill your HP, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely still good on Swain, but if you can get away with Ghost, like Ghost is so much better. Okay. I mean, you're still within touching distance, so I think this isn't too bad. Okay, actually here, this is like a little bad.
Bad
So
ward, but
yeah, the ward is just... If you're scared of checking this... Okay, you actually W'd it, so it's fine. But, like, I think this ward should be just, like, over this wall or something, just to where... Because, like,
double it.
like... How should I put this? It's like... So, warding further out is, like, always more valuable, basically. And this ward, if you don't have time to ward, it's better just to ward slightly outside the bush, because it gives so much more vision than this one inside the bush. And also, if you're kind of in the losing matchup and you have like a difficult time getting priority, then a lot of the time you can just ward the lane. So like, for example, right here, because the thing is, if you're on this side, you're not really gankable anyway. So you can just ward the middle of the lane, like right here, and it'll at least tell you like where Syndra's going. Because like right now, you don't really have any idea what Syndra's doing. Like she could go and just, she could like lean there and now roam top, or she could be basing, or whatever. But the problem is like you have no idea because you don't, and like yeah, see you have to like spam missing ping. But it's just because you don't know. So yeah, like in losing matchups, like warding lane can be good. Just yeah, keep track of like where they are, and that just kind of makes the like mid, I guess, like power difference feel not so bad for your team, because at least if they know where Syndra is, then it's like not too hard for them
Play
to deal
around
with
it.
it. Yeah, but if it's like, okay, she is permanent priority and we have like no fucking clue where she is, it just like pressures every lane at once, and it's really difficult. Okay, yeah, this is... That's pretty bad. Like the double wards. In general, you should try not to place both wards at the same time, because it's going to leave you with a lot of downtime when... Like, when these wards expire, your next trinket isn't up, you're just going to have no ward for a really long time. Okay, I like this. Yeah, good trade. I mean, I actually think the lane is not going too badly for you, considering, considering the matchup and like the early problems. Okay.
Yeah, give it like 1 minute.
Okay. So she has no flash.
This is
So,
bad. I was disappointed about this.
I mean, this looks kind of like... Oh, okay, so you just like walked up too early. Yeah, because I think she is like pretty dead here, I think, because she has no flash and like Maokai's on the way. So yeah, you just need to chill out and wait a bit longer. Actually, what I will say as well is that... See, how much gold did you base on? Let me just like go back quite a bit. So... You based with 16... Yeah, okay, so if for whatever reason you do decide to be like really greedy and not start like any sustain whatsoever, there's actually a lot of different items you can buy here to kind of make it playable. So other itemization that you can consider is Merc Treads. There's double AP mid jungle is really valuable. Like both of these are AP CC champs. So both the tenacity and the magic resist from Merc Treads gets value, and the movement speed from Merc Treads is really good. In fact, I probably just would buy Merc Treads here instead of Lost Chapter. And
Because it's a
also,
hard matchup, you'd
yeah,
say?
it's like hard matchup. The movement speed's great. The magic resist is great, and the tenacity is good. So,
Right.
yeah, and like in general, like tier two boots rush versus like skill shot champions is like really OP because it makes it really hard for them to do stuff. Um,
Mhm.
Another thing you can kind of consider is if you didn't buy any sustain early, is you can just go like refillable potion, just because that's gonna, start giving you a little bit of extra sustain because you've basically again gone for like the greediest purchase possible, and remember that your goal in Swain is pretty much just to get through lane without falling too far behind. But you're not really like playing to that. You're kind of playing as if you're the one who's like winning the whole time. Or you're like itemizing rather, as if you're the one that's winning. So yeah, I'd probably go if you went something like you based on 1600. So if you went something like I think ideal first base here is like ideal first base is maybe like Merc Treads plus Dark Seal plus refillable or something like that. And that is just like now you should just not be able to die at all. And you've still got like Dark Seal for early fights and stuff. You got refillable for sustain. And now obviously this does delay your Leandries by like a fair amount. But
It'll be worth it
yeah,
though.
it's probably worth it because you just like can't die and I mean you're always gonna get to Leandries anyway. Like I don't think you're worried about the game ending before you get to it.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, this all happened, so you died. Yeah, and like now you're pretty far behind. Like what's the goal gap right now? Yeah, 1k. And there's still yeah, like no merc threads here, so it's gonna be tough. It'll be very tough.
Yeah, I think I always tell myself, I'm like, okay, I'm only one death, so now I'll just start playing really safe, and like, I'll just, and that never works out, obviously, but
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't think there's anything you can do here. Like she is just at her first item and like insanely ahead. So
yeah, I
I
probably
think
should
you're
not even.
just pretty much doing all you can here, which sucks, but it's kind of just like a product of like the greedy everything and falling behind.
Right.
Okay, yeah, what you can do here is really tower. Okay. Yeah, I think you're doing the right thing here. You're trying to poke, just like catching a tower. I think you're playing from behind pretty well. It would just be better if we didn't fall behind. Oh,
Right.
this is actually another thing about why tenacity is really good for Syndra, because if Syndra max range stuns you like this, and you have tenacity, you have time to get out of the stun, like right here, before she hits you with the abilities. But if you don't have tenacity, like if you don't have the Merc Treads, like because obviously you got Rune tenacity, but it takes a while to scale up. If you don't have like the Merc Treads, she can just hit you with the combo straight after. But yeah, with Merc Treads, you avoid this. And so it avoids like all this extra damage that you would normally take. Merc Treads are actually, like just in general, Merc Treads versus like Zoe, Syndra, LeBlanc, um, and like CC junglers like Sedge, Elise. Though it's like, oh, Lux is another champ here. It's actually insane versus these champs. It makes it way harder for them to do what they want to do.
So, would you say, I guess just to clarify, whether or not, like, regardless of whether or not you're behind, if it's a harder matchup, like with CC, would you just recommend rushing Mercs or?
I think if you were really ahead, like, okay, let's say that you like solo killed Syndra early game somehow, you could probably just
Right.
rush Leandries and be fine. But I think like
Hmm.
if you're even or behind, you definitely should just go Merc Trends. Like, let's actually look at your match history again. So, like this game, oh yeah, this is actually like look at this. Your verse Lux and Elise. So again, double AP CC mid jungle. This is like if you're not taking cleanse, you must rush Merc Treads. And also
Hmm.
this game, you might even consider swapping Overgrowth to Unflinching for more tenacity, just because, I mean, yeah, like this mid jungle, they have to CC you, and if they can't do that, then they're just fucking useless, pretty much. Um,
Right.
See, this
Yeah.
game, yeah, this is another Lux. Now, this game, okay, yeah, you went Mercs. I think going Mercs is, oh wait, are you top lane in this game, or are you, okay, no, you are mid lane. I think going Mercs here is probably the right play, but it's like a harder one to decide because it's like only Lux basically. You know, it's not like Syndra plus Zac, or it's not like Lux and Elise. I'd probably still do it though. Um,
Yeah, I felt like Lux, I noticed on Swain, that's really hard for me to play
yeah, it's
into,
a
so I'm
tough
like, okay.
matchup. Yeah. And then another thing you can do, if you're verse AP, like double AP, but they don't have tenacity. So like this game, or sorry, they don't have CC. So like Diana and Zac, what you can do is you can just buy a null magic mantle for 450 gold because it gives you the magic resist, and that way you don't like waste the gold building tenacity that you don't actually need. So yeah, I guess like what I'd put here is like look for the always look for an opportunity to counter like double AP or double AD mid jungles, either with like so examples like null magic mantles, Merc treads, Seeker's arm guard, you know, just like something that make or even what's the boots again? Steel caps? Yeah, there's like you can buy any of these and it really makes it difficult. And that's like a big reason why people don't or tend not to play double AP or double AD mid jungle. Like they normally try and do one of each, like you
Switch
know,
it up.
AD Graves, AP Swain, or like you know, ADE, AP Victor. Because when you get double, it's really easy. Like here's another game. I would probably I'm not sure if you need to rush Mercs this game, but I would definitely build Mercs this game because it's like, okay, point and click CC from Rise, CC from Zac, CC from Jax, even CC from Set, and double AP mid jungle. So there's definitely like ways you can kind of counter this. This is another great example. Huge CC jungler here, like Fiddlesticks is insane amount of CC, and it's another AP mid. So I'm not sure if I'd again. You can probably get away with not rushing Merc Treads, but you definitely should build Merc Treads at some point during the game. And I would probably buy a Null Magic Mantle this game, like
So
just to sit
like
on it.
it's so like there's games where you may not have to rush, but you don't think it's like troll to rush it though.
No,
Would
no,
you say
it's like
that?
it's like a good item to rush if it's good. It's just like you
Okay.
you don't want to buy it if the tenacity is not going to be useful. Like if the tenacity is not going to help you because they don't have any
Oh yeah,
CC,
you just go for MR,
yeah, you
right?
just buy the MR and then you can upgrade that later into like, you know, maybe you need Merchants later, or maybe you want Spirit Visage or Force of Nature later, or maybe Banshees, you know. It's completely fine to just buy a cheap component and just sit on it. If it's like really good, right? Like one thing that people used to do back in the day was if they if they wanted tankiness, but like let's say this was like Syndra and Jarvan, and you like wanted tankiness, but it's like hard to itemize. Sometimes people would just buy a ruby crystal because it's gonna itemize into your Rylai's anyway, and it just like allows you to be tankier. Now here, obviously, you don't need to do that, but I guess like yeah, the main learning is don't be afraid of just buying a like single component as like a weak laner to help you survive because if you get through lane, you know, without falling behind, you're gonna carry. So you can afford to be like a little, I don't know, a little safe, I guess. These guys, I think they can kill you.
Don't. Well, Zach does, but only because I'm an idiot. You'll see
Oh yeah, you
in a
kind of like,
second. This is a map where, like, I don't know why I wasn't thinking this. I just shoved
oh
it and
yeah,
I was
this
like,
is like
oh, I'll
a
just stand here.
under tower with no sums and no health. I like this.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll just stand right here.
Yeah, it's very alpha. Okay, yeah, just die. It's kind of whatever. Okay. Yeah, nice. I think you're doing a pretty good job. Nice kiting out. Ooh, you actually hit that E. That was pretty nice. Okay, we go back
Well,
mid. Okay, actually, this is kind of a thing. So, when you get to mid game, you might already know this. I'm not sure, but like when you get to mid game, there's like two. I guess there's like two or three really important things. One is to try be at like every dragon fight. So, a good way to do that is to just base around like 1 minute before it spawns, and that way you're just gonna be there. The second thing is try keep your CS up because a lot of people fall really behind in the mid game. And the last thing is really try not to split or share gold and XP with your ADC because like you and the ADC are the ones who are going to carry like the mid to late game. So here, if Caitlyn goes bot, you can go mid. But if Caitlyn goes mid, then you definitely need to go bot. So like Caitlyn here pings on her way mid, just go bot because you here it's like you're sharing your golden XP, and it's like, you know, all this farm is just like dying down here for no reason. So there's just no reason for you to be here. You should be bot lane.
I don't really like mid macro is definitely something I need to work on because like
Yeah.
I'm still confused by it. But I was like, I'll just do laning phase first, and then yeah, it's just confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. Like go to a different lane.
Yeah, the main, like, obviously there's like optimal plays, right? Of like who should be where and stuff, but the most important thing is just to keep farming. So like if you're here, like, okay, we can argue about whether or not you should be here and Caitlyn should be bot or the other way around. But if Caitlyn is here, you go bot just because you're sharing gold here and you don't want
You gotta
that, right?
split it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like even if people were in like the wrong place, you need to make sure you're farming. Okay, so you actually do get bot in time, but like how many creeps did we lose here? It's like, so while you and Caitlyn is sharing, there's like 5 here, and there's so 2, 3. So you probably missed like another 8 or so. Yeah, something like that. Or yeah, maybe like 7 or so from not being there in time. Just yeah, that's kind of bad. H used ult? I don't know why Garen's here. It doesn't really make sense, but okay, yeah, and like same thing. Now, if for whatever reason Garen is here, actually it's kind of fucked because Dragon is spawning. How long was it? A minute.
Yeah, and he
Okay.
left top.
Yeah, no,
I was like, shoot.
yeah, that's really fucking annoying. I guess you just stay here, but yeah, it really sucks. Like Garen should still be top. But okay, yeah, I guess you just like get Dragon and then probably base and go top after. Yeah, okay, so like right now, as soon as this dragon dies, or actually probably as soon as you realize that they're giving the drag, just start your recall. Like start recalling now probably. That way you just get to top sooner. I think cancelling your base here is kind of troll, actually.
It's like I need a base, but they're going in.
Actually, you know, I actually think cancelling was kind of fine. If Camille were still going here, you should definitely complete this base. But given that Camille based, I think you have like a little bit of time to stay here. So I don't mind this. Nice blast mode. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so far the team fighting looks good. I don't really see any problem with like the Swain team fighting. I do think again here though, after you win this fight, you want to base as soon as possible or go mid. Just like spread out and go back to farming. Because here, like this is 5 of you pushing a single wave for a tower that's on like 1 health. So rather than doing this, just be either walking mid to farm this wave, basing and going top to farm this wave. And actually that's like another good rule. Like whenever you win a fight, I'll just like write it down for you. Like whenever you win a fight, try spread out ASAP, because it means you can farm like more camps, more waves. Like unless you're doing a Baron or something, there's not really any reason for you guys to be grouped after a fight. All it does is like you continue.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, this as well. Like if Caitlyn is not walking mid, you can walk mid. But here, clearly Caitlyn's gonna go mid, so you need to go top. Otherwise, you're just gonna not get any CS. Because like yeah, you come mid, she kills it all. And like this top wave has been here the whole time. And to be honest, if you had just, you know, let's say you base here like 20 seconds earlier. So let's say you're like here by now, you're pushing this, you like push this wave up here. After you push this, now you can come down to mid. But the problem is, because you haven't pushed it, you're in this like awkward spot of like, you kind of want to be here for the fight, but also you need to go that wave. So you just end up A-ramming. But Swain's, like A-ramming's not good anyway, and Swain's not a good A-ram champ, you know? It's like, if you did this on Zoe or something, it's at least like understandable. But on Swain, it doesn't really make sense. Like so much farm has been lost this game. You're like 130 CS at 23 minutes.
Yeah, I noticed like my CS just drops after mid game or after lane phase.
Yeah, nice team fighting again. Like I think your team fighting is actually like really fucking good. Like from what I can tell, you're like pretty much always like playing with the team. You've got good target priority. Like this was really nice by you, by the way, to like go after these guys, because I'd see a lot of people here, you know, chase these 2 1 HP tanks. But like this, yeah, I mean it's really nice. So That's really good. Like you're never gonna have to worry about your team fighting because you're already really good at it. So you just need to kind of be more fed, and then you'll just be able to 1v9.
Exactly.
I kind of like that, being able to get the buff bomb. You got the Rylai's, so yeah, you're just like insanely strong.
Yeah, one thing I do a lot, I even if it's not necessarily a hard like I'm struggling against the enemy team, I like to build Zanya's second just because obviously stasis is kind of broken with my
Yeah.
R, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Like, I think Rylai's second is better, but there's like a decent argument even this game for Zonya's. Because like you could Zonya Syndra, you could Zonya Zac knock up, you could Zonya while Camille keeps you in her R. So like I would prefer Rylai's, but if you go Zonya's, like I wouldn't be that upset with it. I think it's okay.
I guess I don't really understand the value of Rylai's just because I don't build it a lot. Like third, I build it third, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I think it's like, it makes it a lot easier to keep your R going. And also, like, not even just for you, it's like insane value for your team. You're putting down like an AoE 30% slow, which is like, it's really nice for kiting melee champs. It's really good for preventing ranged champs from getting away from you. And yeah, like your whole team benefits from it. So in my opinion, it is just like better than Zonya's. Unless like you need Zonya's to live. It's definitely a better item for your team. But Zonya's is the selfish option. And sometimes, like, Zonya's might be good, right? Like, if they're like a full AD team, or they've got stuff like Zed, or, yeah, just like champs that... Or even like Fizz, actually, Zonya's is pretty good against, because you can Zonya the Fizz ult. Stuff like that, I could see it, but definitely default to Rylai's. Like, Rylai's is... It's better, I think. And it's easier to use, You don't have to press anything.
You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess
Kind
like
of a quick game.
yeah, that was kind of it ended up being a bit one-sided, but I guess okay, so from this game, the biggest thing to work on would be like just I want to say almost like finding the right places to be greedy. Like you still want to, because in theory, you want to be like as greedy as possible without dying. But if you take so much greed and you end up dying, it kind of undoes all the greed you actually got. So I think the best thing to do would be start taking like one of like corrupting slash second wind slash bone plating, and that way if you take one of these, I think it'll make your lane phase like quite a bit more consistent. I think also early itemization, so like early merc treads slash what's the other one? Null magic. I think is that what it's called, the 451, or is that
All
the
magic
wrong one?
mental.
Let me just look it up.
It's that and Negatron Cloak.
Okay, yeah, it is this one. I was just making sure. Okay, so yeah, you can get that one. Another way, I think if you're versus an AD champ, you can go Seekers, but honestly, Swain deals really well with most AD champs, so you can probably just like take bone plating and not build any of this. Like you don't really need to do anything, like nothing
So,
special. AD champ.
do you do bone plating for AD?
Pretty
Is
much,
that
like, well, the reason is that bone plating is very good against assassins that don't have a great way of proccing it before they go in. So if you took bone plating with Syndra, for example, like she's just gonna auto it or she's just gonna Q it. Like it's just gonna disappear. But if you take bone plating versus Kiana, Zed, Talon, or some AP melees, like Fizz, is there any others? Maybe Echo. Yeah, basically bone. So second wind versus poke, bone plating versus all in, and then yeah, I think that'll kind of make sense. I mean, if you end up playing a game and you're not sure what you should itemize, you can just send me a screenshot on Discord like later, and I will like give my opinion on it. So if you're like stuck, but I think that should be kind of, I think it makes sense. I mean, do you think it makes
yeah.
sense? Yeah. Okay.
For the most part, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I'll have to work on like the actual item building part of it because like I don't know. I'll debate with myself whether or not it's worth building a particular item. But the
Yeah.
runes and like the starting items, that makes sense for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think also it's you like coming back to you just need to get through your laning phase. So if something
Yeah.
doesn't seem like super optimal, but it's gonna like really help your lane, a lot of the time it's probably worth it. Like again, obviously, if you can just rush Leandries, that is the highest damage. But if on the way to rushing Leandries you fall behind because you're way too greedy, that's like really, really bad. So yeah, you
Yeah, can you
definitely
actually
want
write that
to.
so I can
Okay.
remember it?
Yeah. So Swain goal is basically like get through lane like without dying slash falling. I would say like significantly behind. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So don't be afraid to be like suboptimal to survive lane, I guess.
Right, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to remember it,
Yeah.
so I'll keep
Yeah,
that in
that's
my
all
head.
good. What else would we say here? I think, yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of the
Um,
early game was that sort of. Oh, do you have a question?
well, I was just gonna say, I think so. Obviously, I don't know. I guess you can be the judge of it. I feel like Swain in general, just kind of like not many matchups that I feel like I get behind in a lot of or like you kind of have to play safer in a lot of matchups, is
Yeah,
what I'm trying to
yeah,
say.
I think I'd
And
agree.
so I feel like I don't know. I guess with just like I know how to play, but I don't know the specifics. And I feel like with ranged, I just try to kind of sit back and farm a little bit, kind of take poke when I can get it. With melee, it's like I don't know. I try to keep the wave near me.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but basically it's like how do you would you say that playing versus melee versus range would be different?
Yeah, I think versus melee, you can definitely play pretty aggressive on Swain because most of the time they can't really all in you. But keeping the wave on your side is good. Like if you can just keep it there and poke them whenever they come up. And honestly, I think the way like you played versus range this game was fine. It's just like you didn't have the tools. It's like okay, you're just taking a lot of damage, but you don't have
Items
any
or
sustain. Or
yeah,
Syndra's harassing you, but you don't have Merc Treads, so you just take tons of extra damage. Like I think the actual play style was correct. It's just you don't have like the pieces there to make the playstyle work, pretty much. But yeah, I don't
yeah,
know. Like if you have another one, like maybe we should look at a melee lane and see how you play it because yeah, I think it is reasonably different. Yeah, actually no, it's very different. But yeah, you can definitely be more aggro in lanes. If we're talking about like actual matchups, I think the stuff that's most difficult is definitely longer range, like a Nivea, Cassio, Victor as that sort of shit. But if you're versus anything like, I think like Yasuo is okay. Silas is pretty hard. Zed is easy. Cat's easy. Yon is okay. Talon's very easy. Like, Galio is very easy. Kali is very easy. Echo's easy. Diana's easy. So like any melee is gonna be like pretty free for you. But remember, I think we actually set up here is if your verse, where did I write it? Oh, here. So if you're versus an all-in champ and you're scared early, you can just build Rod of Ages, or you can even build Rylai's first. There are a lot of Swains, by the way, that just build Rylai's first, even versus range champs, because like you might find that okay, maybe you don't want to delay, like maybe you don't want to buy any magic resist or whatever. Then you could just build Rylai's for extra health, and because it's a
right,
cheap item. So there's like, yeah, again, like don't be afraid of being suboptimal. If you can just find a way to get through the lane, even if it looks sort of like weird, a lot of the time it's worth it on Swain.
right. Okay. Um, what else was I gonna say? I'm trying to think.
Skill order and the put keeping up
So
CS.
I guess I kind of just want to ask like some general, like a general explanation of what you would do to play from behind, other than the itemizing.
Hmm.
Do you? I feel like a lot of times, when I used to play top, even I felt like a lot of times I'd literally just have to sit under turret, even if the wave was in the middle, and like I'd try to get an XP range or something like that,
Yeah.
and then something would go wrong. And so I guess not having a good foundation in top, I feel like in mid, I kind of can't do it either. I just don't know what to do from behind.
Yeah, I think like let's just go to say like here. I think what you were doing was mostly fine. Like I think it would be better if you watered the lane because that would tell you at least like where
Where
Syndra's
she
going.
is.
But I think
Yeah.
being here is like mostly what you want, and I think like yeah, if you have Merc Treads, you can kind of like mitigate some of this damage. You just like want to try and like keep your farm up and like try not to die, and also like yeah, with your wards and stuff, try and mitigate her impact on the map. But like yeah, I don't really think there is like a whole lot you can do here. It is again like a lot easier with Mercs, I think, or more sustained because it's just like slightly less damage each time, and it's a bit harder for her to actually like all in. Like this, for example, this is another time where I think if you have Mercs, you probably avoid Let's see. Oh yeah, like you can avoid like Merc means you would have been out of the stun by now. So you avoid this WQ that comes straight after, and that's like the majority of the damage, you know. Now this actually ended up being a good trade for you, but you know I think it's just like itemization. Yeah, I don't know. I think your playstyle is actually fine. Like I don't think there's huge issues with the playstyle. I think it's just like the super greedy itemization is making it like very difficult to kind of play
Yeah.
out. And obviously, like once you
Okay.
fall so far behind, like once after this death, like it's gonna be. I mean, you were just so far behind. It's gonna be difficult for you to do anything because like you're just like she has her full item and you're on like some components. You know, like you're not even close. So if you
So at
fall
that
this far
point,
behind, you're kind of fucked. Honestly, like you're just yeah. I mean, what you did here, I think again is fine. Just like try and AFK at your tower and yeah. I mean, actually, I think you did fine. So yeah, I
so when you're behind like that, again, yeah, I know I'm going back to itemization. Um, Instead of like Darksteel, you
mhm.
still think like just a no magic mantle there or something along those lines?
Yeah, probably. I think just try and yeah, just like try and keep yourself from dying, or even like yeah, if you don't want to delay it, just go like Ruby Crystal and build it into a Rylai's later or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like something that makes surviving a bit easier.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think the early game, I think you'll find the early game just a lot easier with better itemization and runes, and then your team fights were already good, so that's gonna be easy. But I think the mid game was a pretty big thing, like trying to keep up CS in mid game, so like you know spread out after fights, you know try not to share golden XP, just like yeah try find some ways to keep up your CS. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
you'll see like a pretty big improvement, honestly, because like we wrote a lot about you know like the runes items, like your skill order, depending on matchup. Yeah, I think you can make it like right now you're just making it very hard for yourself, so you have to play really, really well. But you can just make this like so much easier for you, you know?
Yeah. Okay. With the items and whatnot,
Yeah,
skill order.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So,
We still have a bit of time actually. If you do you have a melee lane in your match history?
let me see. I might.
That's
Do I have one here? Hold on, it's loading.
oh, we could look at this one versus Diana.
Yeah, see, yeah, we can. That one, I think I died once to her early. I don't honestly, I think it was just a positioning mistake, to be honest. Um, and then if I recall correctly, like she roamed, got some kills, and then I was just fucked after
Hmm.
that. So
Okay. Yeah, let's just like skim through the early game, I guess.
yeah,
So rune setup, like I think versus Diana you can be really greedy. Like I'm fine with the full greedy runes here versus Diana, because Diana can't really pressure early, so I think your runes here are perfect. It's like as greedy as possible. Pretty greedy start, so no problems with any of this.
then, did you say conk? Like in general is just okay. It's just kind of changing the secondary tree a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't like you can change Conk if you want, but I think Conk is like it's like the best greed you can get. You know, it's like it scales really really well, and yeah, I probably wouldn't give it up. The only thing, I don't know, if you're in an insanely hard matchup, you could play Spellbook instead, but I wouldn't worry about it until you're like really high elo. I don't think it's. I think Konk's just like 10 times easier to use, and most of the
Exactly.
time is gonna be good anyway. Um, yeah. So when I'm versus a
Probably
melee, I would probably start Q. It's up to you. You can
right.
start E if you want, but I think it's just like easier to get more damage with Q whenever they come up. But I mean, both of them are fine. Like the reality is, when you're versus a melee, you can do basically whatever you want. It's just like a lot easier. Okay, a level 2 gank.
Kind of just walks up a little
Yeah,
bit.
I like that little chunk.
So when did you say to start E again? Is that for you would say for people like I guess that you're not
Yeah, I'd
really worried
say
about?
E is like for it's like ranged matchups that aren't too difficult.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay,
examples would
that makes
be
sense.
I guess maybe I should just like clarify that. I can't even remember where I wrote it, so I'm just gonna write it again at the
Somewhere in
bottom.
there.
But it's
That's
like
fine.
yeah, so E start versus like range, that's not too hard, and then like Q versus melee and Q versus hard range. That's what I think. 'Cause, like, yeah,
It's better. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay.
'cause, like, yeah, so E start versus like range, that's not too hard. And then like Q versus melee and Q versus hard range. That's what I think.
'Cause, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. 'Cause
Now this I think is like kind of a CSing problem. So the thing with Swain is like any harass that you can put down early game is a bonus, but ultimately you're not expecting to get kills early game on Swain, at least until like level 6. So if you're ever giving up CS to harass your opponent, that should feel pretty bad. You know, like here for example, you end up giving up that melee because you're harassing, and let's see, is there any more? I guess like some of these are just missing, but I think you should have like a... Actually, let's just make a second replay here. So this is Swain versus Diana. So you need to have like a really big focus, just like big focus on getting high CS. Like don't worry early game about harassing. If you can balance both, that's like your end goal, right? But for now, you just need to get more CS, because like this is... You're in a matchup where she can't pressure you at all, right? Like Diana can't really pressure, and you only got 10 out of 19 on the first 3 waves. So that is like, if you were say 17 out of 19 here and Diana's only on 8, like you're really ahead, you know? But instead, you're just like really putting yourself behind. And it's like, for what? Like remember that Swain can't really kill people early anyway.
So like for earlier game champs, say like I don't know, early mids. I don't know, like there's not a lot of early mids I feel like, but basically earlier game champs you would be okay with harassing more, I
Yeah,
guess.
well, I think it's like if you're, let's say you're playing something
If you have
like
kill potential.
Lucian, right? Like you
Yeah,
you can now on Lucian you should be good enough to get the CS and harass. But ultimately, if you had to choose, you'd probably just harass because you need to snowball. But Swain, it's like, remember, your Swain, your goal is just like get your first item as quick as possible, try not to die, and like everything else is kind of extra. Um, so you end up dying here, but I think honestly, a lot of this is kind of... Yeah, I think because you're just like focusing really hard on harassing, and then you're taking a lot of damage kind of for free. And oh yeah, so just like this is kind of annoying versus Diana, but when you're against Diana, you wanna... This is actually such a weird champ, but you need to stay like on the opposite side of her Q, you know, because like her Q, because it's a crescent, will always go this way. So if you stand on this
just sit over
side,
there.
like yeah, she can never hit you. It's such a weird champ though. It's like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, if you just like stand on the like opposite side of her blade, basically, like if you stand top
Uh-huh.
side, shouldn't be able to get you and the creeps. But where you're standing here, allows her to hit both the creeps and
She can
you.
get both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just say like here the CS is just really
Okay.
low, and then I mean you
So
end up dying.
generally, yeah, and I was like so disappointed in that that spam thing, I think. Wait, who did? Oh no, it was me. Um, so generally, I guess on Swain, focus farm early.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, going back to like this goal thing, it's like get through lane without dying slash falling significantly behind. Try get like your first item ASAP. Don't worry too much about harass. Like any harass you can get is a bonus, but if you can't do both or it's too difficult for your matchup or
Focus,
whatever, yeah,
yes.
just get CS. Like honestly, if you can just like... So as like a benchmark, if you can just like hit at 10 minutes, if you can have like 80 CS, 0 deaths, you're doing like really fucking good. But let's skip to 10 minutes here and see where you are at instead.
Probably two deaths.
65
Oh,
CS, 0 1. So it's like, you know, you're a fair amount behind where you should be. If you're just like a bit higher, add like 1 less death, you know, we're actually getting like reasonably close to our item here. But instead, it's like, I don't know, we're just like falling really far behind when we can't. And yeah, I mean, you just like don't need to, right? I guess you're playing a scaling champ, so just like lean into it and play for scaling.
yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I do play aggro kind of early, and I feel like that's why my early game sucks.
Yeah. I mean,
But
yeah, again, like you can do that if you can balance it with CSing. Like if you're really good
right.
at it, but right now I'd focus on... I mean, you've got like a million things here to focus on, but I'd focus on like one thing at a time, and maybe eventually it's like, okay, now we need to balance our CSing and harassing. But for now, just like focus on, you know, just like getting more CS and like trying to get through your lane and just get those like building blocks in place before we worry too much about like the advanced stuff, I guess.
I'll start with I
Yeah.
guess the itemizing, surviving lane, all that good stuff.
All right.
That makes sense
I'll
for
copy
sure.
this to you. Do you have any questions about anything on here? It's quite a lot, so feel free
No, I
to
don't.
read through it.
Well, let's see. People interchange.
You can always message me later as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, I think for the most part, it makes sense. Yeah, it's just something I'm gonna have to work on.
Yeah, and maybe this like game as well, like on your second base here, maybe we go. Oh, we don't have enough gold, but I was gonna say maybe you could go for the null magic, but you don't actually have enough gold to buy it. So, oh wait, do you? Oh yeah, no, you have 790. So maybe here you go like, if you wanted to make your lane easier, go like null magic plus I don't know boots health pot or something. Because like buying a little bit of sustain is good too, like refillable or an HP pot
So,
or something.
would you say Mercs isn't really worth there then? Like, even if I did have
Um,
the gold, because of because she's melee, or
I think you could go Mercs, but also I'm not sure you need to fully commit to a Mercs rush because okay, like if you went Mercs rush, I'd be fine with it, but I think you could be slightly greedier and just buy the magic resist because they don't have a like Diana doesn't have like that great CC, and I think Zac probably won't gank you mid, so like I don't know. If you wanted to go Mercs, I'd be completely fine with it, but you could maybe be like a tiny bit greedier and just buy the magic resist.
yeah, so Mercs is just safer. Got
Yeah,
it.
pretty
Yeah.
much. Like Mercs is like very rarely gonna be bad, but it's just like Mercs are normally bad if you're only buying Mercs for the magic resist, that's bad. You want to be buying Mercs because you value the tenacity as well.
Okay. I think I just have like one quick last question.
Yeah, sure.
It's completely unrelated to this, but if so, I notice a lot of times, like before Drake, the wave and mid will just be like two waves will be meeting in the middle,
Hmm.
and it's like I'll see my opponent at the team fight, and I'm like, well, shit, I have to help with the team fight, but also I want to shove the wave first, you know? And so I'm like trying to assume, like, or trying to debate which one's better,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
I
generally speaking.
yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's definitely like a case by case basis, right? But I think generally speaking, you should just be at the team fight as Swain because Swain is like an amazing team fighter, and he's not the kind of champion that wins by building up like individual leads over their opponent. You know, it's not like you push those two waves and you're like, nice, now I have like a 12 CS lead, and because of that, I'm going to be able to like really bully my opponent on the next base or whatever. Swain is like definitely a team fighter. Like he's not really a 1v1 champ. So I would say generally speaking, just go to the fight. But obviously if you can push the wave in time and still get to the fight, like that's better, right? That's like the most optimal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really it. So should I put do you think I should put like my next like session for like a week or like two
Um
week? Like what do you think?
I just think take however long you need to work on stuff. What I would probably do is like, okay, I think play like a few games at least between like now and then, and just like
Of
if you're
course. Yeah.
confused, actually, you know what you should do? You should probably just like play a few and like play like 3 games and send me a screenshot of like what like go to OPGG, go to your build here, and just like screenshot this part for me where it's got like the champs and like what you built and the runes, and I'll just like tell you what I would have built, and we'll kind of compare, and maybe that can like help you work out the like items and stuff. And then yeah, I'd say like maybe a week or 2 weeks from now, when you feel like you've started to work on, just like having your, just like getting through lane a bit better, maybe then think about it. Because what you don't want is to come back and we talk about the exact same things, right? This is kind of like a
Yeah.
waste of your money, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I guess like don't be afraid to take more time, but at the same time, once you feel like you've, figured stuff out, like we can look through it again and we'll probably find a lot more stuff.
Yeah, I'll try to kind of take my time with it, see what I need to do.
All right, sweet. And I'll upload this session and link it to you later today, so you can go back and watch it if you want.
So thank you. That'll help a lot. Yeah, your vids on your main channel has definitely helped me.
Thank you.
The cooldowns and whatnot. But thank you, dude.
All right,
Appreciate it.
sweet. Well, yeah, good luck, and yeah, keep me in the loop. I want to see some itemization coming out.
Yeah, I'll send you some screenshots. Thank you.
All right, sweet. See you later.
See ya.
Bye bye.